happens. So this is the Drupal usability meeting for January 30th to 2020. And we're going to review at least a bunch of core issues involving update information and security support and other fun things. So Ted, do you want to start?
Sure. Okay, I'll share my screen. Let me actually silence notifications before I do that. How do I do that?
I'm like racing to see if I can send him an embarrassing DM. Oh, he's got too fast.
Okay. Where is my Zoom? Okay. I have a bunch of screenshots. So basically, this issue is to display a message if your current core version will, or to tell you how long it will be supported for. So there's two cases. One's where it's based on the current, on the minor. So if you're on 8.2.1, you will be supported until 8.4.0 comes out. And that is true for all 8 releases until 8.8. And then once you're on like 8.8, 8.8.0, 8.8.1, you'll be supported based on a date, and that's true for 8.9 also. And then 9 will switch back to being supported for 2 minors until we have an LTS for 9, which hopefully won't be for a while. So I'm going to show some screenshots here of
And just to note, maybe, Ted, can you also, do you have a Drupal site set up so you can show them the context? These are going on the site status report.
Yeah.
So when people click on it, if it's a warning, when people click on the 5 warnings box, it would expand and include this, and et cetera.
Okay, so if I go to status report.
Yeah, not that one, this one, yep.
So let me see if I actually, I have a dev release installed right now, so you wouldn't see it here, but it would be, depending on whether it's an error or a warning or just info, it would be in one of these sections. So the screenshots that I'm going to show are basically rows in this table. Any questions on that? Okay. So this is a standard example of 8.2, where now what's happening here is the site is on 8.2 something, like 8.2.1, and 8.3 has already been released. 8.3.0 has been released. So we're telling them they're going to stop receiving official security support after 8.4.0, but then we're also telling them a warning to update to 8.3 or higher soon, because we know 8.3 has been released, so we add this little extra warning. So I'm going to show another version of that without the warning.
Oh, and just one more thing, the paragraph at the bottom.
Yeah.
So the available updates page takes them to their update status report for their site. The visit the release cycle overview, that takes us to the official core handbook page, which will have exact dates listed for each minor version. The reason that we did it this way is that sometimes we change the dates. So what's on the screen here is always true, but they can visit the page to find out exactly the security coverage policy in general, and then actually the exact date that they have to update to 8.4 or 8.3.
The punctuation looks a bit odd, but I understand that it's right after reading it 3 times, but it looks odd in the first sentence. But yeah.
Actually, no, it is.
The installed minor version of Drupal, which is 8.2, will stop receiving. So if you read it like that, then the punctuation.
Would it be better to put the version in parentheses?
Maybe, yeah.
So without the comma.
Yeah, we just replace the comma parenthetical with an actual parenthetical.
Yeah.
But it's a very small thing.
Okay, so parentheses around 8.2. Okay.
Yeah, because it
One second.
Feels very odd otherwise.
All right, so I'm going to switch to, this is a different version, but the same message. Wait, no, that's 8.8, sorry. I want to get to 8.2 warning. Okay, So we're going to look at one actually. So this, you can imagine, would be the same for 9.9. So this is 9.9, but it would be the same if it was 8. And here we're saying that in this case, we're on 9.9, say 1, and 9.10.0 has not come out. So this would be the same case as if we were on 8.2 and 8.3.0 has not come out.
It's not a warning. It's not a warning. It's an info.
Yeah.
Right, because they're on the latest minor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't, yeah, so we have a link to, so again, we'd replace the comma with the parentheses there, but then we don't show them the available updates page here.
If they don't need to update, so there's no action, it's just info.
And if they needed to update because they were on an insecure version, there would be a separate row in the table that says, okay.
If it were like a patch security release, if they were on, 8, or in this scenario 9.9.2 and then 9.9.3 is a security release, there's a separate warning for that.
Yeah. So these are the what we just saw in this one are the two cases where they are currently supported and their support is based on a future release of Drupal, a future minor release. So the next one we're going to look at is when they're on a version that is unsupported. Minor unsupported. Okay, so this one is, we're seeing it at 8.0. And here they are on 8.0 and it's no longer supported because 8.2.0 has been released. And we know that, but I mean, it also could be that like 8.8 has been released. We're not saying like what, how far out they're behind, but we're just saying their current one is not supported. And we have a warning, but we have an error and the message is slightly stronger than the previous one, where we're saying update as soon as possible. We're saying update. Wait, let me look at the other one where the warning is. I'll put them side by side. Okay. So, so the warning one above is like update to a version or higher soon to continue receiving security updates. Then we're saying update to minor as soon as possible to continue receiving security updates, and we're telling them it's uninstalled. Besides that, the two messages are the same. One is in warnings and one is in error section.
So is the minor warning that you are getting even if you are unsupported major version, because we did not encode the major version support dates or something?
Well,
I think the update status report handles that separately. So I think that's a separate issue. We probably should open an issue to test that, because we're about to make changes not only to this status report, to the update status report as well. I think once we finish those changes, we should make a follow-up to check what it says for unsupported major versions. Like, for example, when you're after the Drupal 8 LTS is end of life, or after Drupal 7 is end of life, or after Drupal 9 is end of life. But we have a couple years to solve those. It would be good to solve them before release so that we don't have to backport things and everyone has the info. But I think that's more of a should have major issue.
It's also not in the scope of this one, because this is about the minor LTS UI.
And when they click the available updates, they would see, 8's not supported, go to 9 or 10 or whatever the current supported one is. Major version.
I think the user story that we'll want to test once we finish this and the other issue for the update status report would be to have them on 8.7 or 8.6 or 8.8 when 9.1 is the current release, like fake that data and see what it would look like. But I think it's just something we should review, and I took a note for it.
So I'm going to actually try to get them all up at the same time, all the various ones. Okay, so this would be in chronological order. You would get the top one when you're currently supported. It would be at the bottom of the page under checked. And then you would get the middle one here, which is a warning that it will be in the next minor release, you'll be out of security warning or security coverage. And then the bottom one is
when it's already out of security.
Yeah, when you're already out of security coverage.
Does it make sense to everyone so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are those three. I'm going to close those three.
And then now you're going to look at the special releases?
Yeah, so these are the special releases that are based on a particular date. So, I closed the Finder window. New Finder window. Screenshots. Oh, yes. Okay, so we're going to look at 8.8. So the first one I will show is when 8.8 is supported. So in this case, you're on 8.8 and you're more than 6 months out before it goes unsupported. So we have the installed version of Drupal 8 and we can replace that with the parentheses. We'll stop receiving official security support after and then a particular date. Then we go to the release cycle. The next thing you would see is when you're 6 months, when it's 6 months till 8.8 is unsupported.
So this would be like in June.
Yeah.
After June, when 8.8 has gone from full bug fix support to security coverage only.
You would see this one, which is similar to the saying, update to a supported minor version soon to continue receiving security updates. So similar wording to the other one, just based on a date now instead of a particular release. And again, link to the release cycle, or sorry, to the release cycle overview. And then we have 8.8 unsupported, so we're past the date of support, and we have down at the bottom where we're saying, sorry, you waited too long, you're unsupported.
And so this would be like in January of 2021 when 8.8 has officially ended security coverage, and 8.9, the LTS release, is the only supported branch of 8.8.
So this will actually be 12/3/2020 though also.
Yeah, I gave an example date that was after that.
So this is date based because there's no second minor after 8.8.
Right. It's technically the release of 9.1, but because that is slightly, the probable release of 9.1 is the most likely release of 9.1 is that date, but that's too complicated because it depends on Drupal 9's policies and so forth. So we just give them an official date the coverage ends.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so these are the three possible warnings you'll get for 8.8. When you're more than 6 months out, when you're less than 6 months out, and when you've been passed.
So I assume you are formatting the date with some localized format. The only thing.
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to ask about too. Right now, to my knowledge, it's just like a YMD date format.
This will be the same for everybody.
So we probably should. That's probably something we maybe could fix in a follow-up issue. Because this is like the least ambiguous date, but it's Gabor's right that it needs to be localizable.
It could still be February 12, 2020, or it could be December 2nd, 2020.
But
and then it will be more
Either
familiar to
2
the
dates.
user because it's what they see on their site everywhere,
Well, but we can't use their date formats because we don't know their date formats include a day, right?
Do we not? That's not one of the possible date formats?
Well, but they're editable.
I mean, I think I think let's open a follow-up issue for the date formatting. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure, like, whatever date format, if you have a long date format, you can edit it and you can take the day out.
Well, I mean, which would be,
I mean, you wouldn't likely do it, but this
Yeah.
is security
You wouldn't
coverage,
likely
so-
do it in that,
But-
that's like, yeah.
but these, like, not everyone even uses these year and numbers, so it's up to the date time API to convert this to, you know, whatever year it is right now in the Islamic calendar, for example, or something.
Yeah, just like whatever the you know, node date gets formatted as would be fine, I think, because that also has a day, you know.
Well, not on every site, right?
I know. I realize that people can do dumb things to their sites, but it works in like the 99% of cases, and it makes the date clearer for 100% of people, except for the idiots that took the day out of their format.
I've set it up. I mean, I don't think we need to make it user configurable on the site. It would probably just be, it might just be related to the translation or something. I think that I don't have the knowledge. Let's discuss this on the follow-up issue for it, so that we can get feedback from people who actually know how to localize things, because Ted and I are not so much. So, so I have a note for that.
But I did look into it, and there's not like a PHP version of that you can say, give me what the user wants to use. The format somebody wants to use that will have a day in it. You can say the date part, but at that point you have to pick an order.
The important thing is that we always have, so even if they change it so that it says after, I forgot, like, you know, December 2020, and they take the day out, they still have to link to the release cycle overview, so they can still get the actual data if they need it.
Okay.
So I think that this is okay for now for that reason, and I think that a follow-up is the way to handle it. Actually,
Yeah, there's some date formats that are not user editable, but they're still translated, shipped with Drupal as default config. So I'm not concerned, but I'm fine with moving it to follow-up.
Okay. So these are all for 8.8.
and then we have one more set, I think.
Yeah. So
Ooh, it got dark in here.
we're on motion sensor lights. So
Okay.
okay. Okay. So now we're going to look at 8.9.
So
So
can I just ask, I was just thinking, is there any other areas of core where we have a similar situation where we need to format a date, but we can't rely on the site builders not putting formats in place?
I think we should discuss that in a follow-up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, is it a follow-up specific to this, or is it more of a generic follow-up about the fact that we need predictable date formats?
We can find that up in the follow-up, I think.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Ed and I have about 15 more minutes, so.
Okay. So here is the one for 8.9. So 8.9, the LTL's release, most likely. So this is 8.9 when it's supported. So the difference between 8.9 and 8.8 as far as the dates, well, there's two differences. One, we're showing a month instead of a particular day. And two, we're not showing a warning at 6 months. We're just saying we're showing this message until it is unsupported, and then we're showing the unsupported message.
And the reason for this is that there is no extended security coverage for 8.9. It just receives security coverage until the entirety of its life. So something we went back and forth about on the issue was whether to give them like a 6-month warning about updating, even though they still have active bug fix support for the whole time. So for right now, we have just they would see until November of 2021, they would see the first message on the top. And then after November 2021, they would see the message on the bottom.
Yeah, I don't have strong feeling either way. It's fine.
That's probably fine, given we'd be showing them a warning about something that they're not doing wrong. So
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, okay, so that is all of the messages, all the possible messages, new messages that we're adding in this issue. And
Yeah.
I will update this. I'll put these screenshots to up on the issue.
It looks like we need to fix the parenthetical.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
I've got a note for that. Once in just a second here, I'll put my notes in the UX Slack so that everyone can verify we've covered everything.
Yep.
The one thing I left in chat as feedback, and I guess this is critical, so we don't want to hold it up on that because we're talking about follow-ups for basic things like the date looking right. But if I were channeling my inner Yoroi, he would be screaming at how much text is here.
Yeah, we kind of struggled with that too. We struggled with that a lot when we were working on this.
Yeah, so I made a suggestion in the sidebar, which is probably wrong, but it's just like, your version supported until : blah. You know what I mean? Just like get to the point as quickly as possible. But we can discuss it in a follow-up because it's going to require bike shedding. But ideally, we want this is a really important error message, so we want it to be scannable, and we want people not to zone out after the first like 3 words.
Andy, where's your example so that I can add it to the...
It's in the chat of the Zoom. I'm going to see if I can copy it to
most
Slack.
impermanent form of
Yeah.
Okay, I'm copying it and putting it in my notes.
Oh, great. Thanks. Yeah, because I'm on my phone and it doesn't copy very well. And I'm also very tired because I just woke up. Although it sounds like you might have just woken up too. So, twinsies.
Yeah, I'm sick, so I went even more.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. Woo.
So I think we've identified 2 follow-ups, one for the date formatting and one to see if we can convey the same information with fewer words without losing critical information. So here are my meeting notes.
Yeah, I'm sort of like with the wording. There was things I was wondering, especially about kind of like the first paragraph. Like, is the word minor necessary? Like, are people going to understand what that means? Does that confuse people? Or so like, yeah, there's stuff we could, I think, look at around the wording as well.
I will add that to my notes too.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be easier to improve after it's in there.
Yep.
And our goal for this, by the way, is to backport this as soon as possible. We want this to be in 8.8.2 and possibly even in like an unofficial patch release of 8.7 or like a non-policy patch release of 8.7 because we want people to have this information as soon as possible.
Mhm.
And so what we would do is we would backport it and then we would probably fix the messaging in 8.9 and 9.0 as we improve the usability. And then we could discuss whether breaking strings in 8.8 and 8.9 to fix it further would be appropriate or not in the follow-up issue that I have for usability here.
Yeah, I think for now it's good in terms of wording and things, but yeah, we could like shed on it a bit.
It's impressive how many variations there are. Like, you think this is an easy problem at the outset. It's like, oh yeah, versions are going out of compliance. We should warn people about that. But then, as Ted has demonstrated, it gets very tricky very fast.
Yeah, we ran
through all of the
done 2 months ago.
2 months ago, last year.
I mean, obviously been working on that stuff too, but
That's all I had.
Okay. We have this other issue for Derek. Well, not for Derek, but for Drupal's update info, like the compatibility stuff that also Ted worked on actually. And then Derek opened this issue. Would someone want to present that, or should I pull it up?
Oh, so compatibility ranges.
Yeah.
Are there screen?
Faced an issue that we should UX review and simplify that. Well, just.
Okay, I'm looking for this.
I mean, I don't think
prioritize the issue that Derek raised that I initially ignored. So.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
This 31027.
Yeah. Okay, I could present it. Sure. Let me share my screen again. Okay. So on the update report, we added new. So 4 modules. Okay. Yeah. So core hasn't changed. If you look up here, but contrib has changed a range of possible core versions that this is compatible with, and sort of the reason we did this was because people will be getting, we switched to a feed that will basically pull back all versions, all new versions of modules, because Drupal 9, there won't be quote unquote any Drupal 9 contrib modules. There'll be Drupal modules that are compatible with 8 or compatible with 9, but you won't have the 9.x prefix, so there's no filtering on 9.x or 8.x anymore. So Core has already made this change. Sorry, Drupal 8. It's 8.8, 8.9. I'm not sure about 8.8. So when we have a new,
It's not an 8.8 yet. We're waiting to backport it to 8.8 until we fix this UX issue.
so there's a new key that you can use in the info files. That's core version requirement, that you can use semantic versioning constraints. So you could say it's compatible with 8.8 and above, and also 9. Or you could say it's compatible with all of 9, or just 9.1, or just 9.1.6 to 9.2.4. So we are listing that here, what they're compatible with. So in the case of the top one here with 8.0.0 to 8.1.1, that's like a single range. But the second version is actually only compatible with 2 versions of Core, these 2 specific ones. So that's not a very common scenario, but it could happen because of the version constraint. So the second one you're not likely to see. The first one you're most likely to see. I'm actually not sure how we made these screenshots. What it does is it shows you all of the future versions of Drupal core. It shows you ranges, but only including your current version and above of available versions of Drupal core. So let's say I have a module that says it's compatible with all of Drupal 8 and all of Drupal 9. And right now I'm on 8.8.6, and let's say 9.2.0 has also come out. That would mean that it would say this is compatible with 8.8.6 up to 9.2.0. So that's like the most common thing you would see, because most modules generally don't specify specific versions of core in the past, even though you still could. But there might be some where it's 8.8 and above to 9.2. So that would be like compatible from 8.8.0 to 9.2.0 in that case, if 9.2 came out. If there are no 9 versions, it would say with compatible with Drupal core 8.8.6 or whatever the current version is, to whatever the installed version is, to whatever the latest version of Drupal 8 is.
And this is related to the semantic versioning and multi-branch compatibility work. The big picture here is that we now have modules that can be compatible with Drupal 8.8 through 9.2, which was never a thing that could exist before for a module. And the way the data structure has changed. Now, Ted, can you show them the Angie's comment 5 and my proposal, like my chat after that, not this one, further down. Still more. There we go. So in this comment, Angie pointed out that we have 3 columns here, and we're kind of putting this information in the wrong column. The important thing that we want to convey here is what we want to empower the user to select the correct update that's compatible with their version of Drupal, rather than downloading the wrong one, because for the first time ever, they're going to see for potentially lots of versions that aren't compatible with versions of Drupal. So what Angie identified is that we already have a different column that prompts people to take an action of downloading the release if it's compatible. and then pointed out that, can you scroll one more comment? Yep, down to the next screenshot. That, so in Angie's example here, she points out that the information we actually want to have is take away the download action and point out that it's not compatible with your version of Drupal. You can go to probably the release notes or the project page for the module to get specifics of the versions that the release is supported, or you could have the details expanded right there. My proposal is a sort of an iteration on Angie's, which is, sorry, this is my reminder to join my Scrum. So I don't think we should have the word download at all if it's not clickable, because that's confusing. So what we should do is just replace the download action with, can you scroll down one more? Several more, past all me talking. Okay, no, up a little. Or, sorry, may I?
Yeah, it's number 9, I think.
9. Thanks, Angie. Yeah, okay, so what I was proposing is that instead of the download link, we just have something in this area here, instead of download, that says not compatible with your version of Drupal. And then you could click, actually you probably don't even need the word details here. It has, this is like a details field set. You click on it and it expands to have the information of the specific versions that's compatible with here. So this is me up here where it says this module is compatible with Drupal core 811 or 810 to 811, depending on the specific things. I would just reduce this to say requires : Drupal core versions. But that information you don't actually need. You just need to, if you want to know why it's not compatible with your version of Drupal for the update. And so then Gabor presented some things, and I have another simplification here. So like I would imagine this would be in that same right column, not compatible. You click on it, and then you see the version information there.
So I have one point I'd like to bring up though. So we're this seems to be just targeted to people who aren't using Composer, right? Because nobody else needs to download it via a link on your update status page.
Yeah.
I think the problem is we're showing them Drupal core updates and module updates. So it's kind of weird to not show the download link if you're giving them, like if I see this and I need to update core and I need to update contrib modules, if I can't download the contrib module that's going to be compatible with the version of core I'm about to download, I actually have to install core, update core, then go back to this page to get this, where I would see I would probably want to do both at once.
I can see that argument. I think that I'm just copying and pasting what other app stores do. Other app stores basically say, you're not on the correct version of the OS, this is not accessible to you. And it is 2 steps. You have to go and update the system, and then you come back and you update it, but it is consistent with what, say, Google and Apple and anything else that you can think of does it this way. So it is a convenience to be able to link directly to the download that you're going to download, but I think the clarity is more important personally.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Is our best practice to update your contrib modules first and then core? If the contrib modules, like we ran into this with Path Auto, right? So Path Auto requires 880 with the latest version. Do you update the module first or do you update core first? It's been so long since I maintained a site. I can't remember actually which is the best practice.
You probably update, I don't know. I could see arguments for both. Let's Google.
Probably why we shouldn't put that information on this page.
Yeah.
Can I say it's like counterintuitive to not update core first? Because if a module requires a certain version of core to be compatible, you shouldn't be able to download that module in an incompatible version of core, because otherwise it wouldn't work.
I don't know what it would do. It would blow up with fatal errors or who knows what.
Yeah, it might even break your status report page and then prevent you from downloading the correct version of core.
Well, there's actually a bug that it would silently uninstall your module. But
Great.
we will actually fix that very soon, but
can you promote that to critical?
That is critical.
Is it in the meta?
Yeah, it
Okay.
hasn't really been of an issue because people don't, it's only if it's not compatible with core, and we haven't had fine grained control over what's compatible with core before. Okay, so are we leaning towards showing the not compatible, and then you would hit that for more details to what it's compatible with?
Yeah, I like that. I like that suggestion where it's kind of it just simplifies. It's like, here you're not compatible. You click it. It's like, okay, this is why. These are the version numbers. Making it simple is good, I think.
And what about ones that are compatible? Do we show the range?
Yeah, it's probably not.
No, I don't think you. I mean, you don't care.
Well,
I would keep it like as a details situation, you know, like I think Jess, you had a suggestion around that, which is, I can't remember what your suggestion was, but it was like, would you tooltip it? Would you like?
Yeah, it's in a. I think personally, I would just not display the information if it is compatible with your version of core, because if it's an available update, and you know, worst case scenario is you might need to update the module twice, but that might actually also be the right task.
no, I think worst case scenario is you install it, it's compatible with your version of core now, you run the updates, and then you update core, and now it's not compatible anymore.
But your update status page will show you that, like.
No, not first. You'll run core, and then you'll have.
But it will still show as an available update. In that scenario, you would see 2 available updates for this module. And so you would probably, the only time you need a warning is if it's not, I don't know.
I was
So
kind of
Ted,
thinking
I just
that,
want to drill in. So is your concern that, like, let's use AAA update test that's shown here. Your concern is that we show you 2 possible ones you could update to, and let's say the first one was only compatible up to 8.1.0 for some reason.
Mhm.
Or 8.0.9, that would be an easy one. And so if you update your core version to 8.1, like the top box is telling you to do, now all of a sudden, well, then all that would happen, yeah, it's like then you wouldn't see the first box anymore because that's not compatible with your version.
Yeah, actually, no. I was trying to think of a worst case. I think worst case is it's compatible with your version of core, so we don't show you any extra information. Let's say you're on 8.1.0 and 8.1.1 is available of core. So you say, cool, I'm going to update my contrib module first. You do it, and now you want to update core, but this module won't actually be compatible with the version of core you want to go to. But if we don't at least give you the option to look at the details, then there's no way you could have known that. And so now you can't update core.
Yeah, I guess I'm less concerned about showing the details there. I mean, I once again,
I feel
always
like
channel your inner
rare
user,
scenario.
use fewer words, but it's like compatible with : 8.1.0 to 1. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like you could say that. I'm less fussed about that than making it very clear visually on the download action what they should be doing. Because the old screenshot, like this is just my shitty attempt at it, but like the old screenshot, you'd have to read every single bit of text on that page in order to understand what is happening. And this is very scannable, and it's like, oh, okay, I should download this and can't download that. What happened? You know?
Okay.
And justice is the same. So
Yeah,
I don't really take issue with the details being there if you want them, but I don't. Yeah. I wouldn't remove detail, I guess, as long as we can shorten it. Like we don't need to write novels about what version it is, but
Yeah, what we could do is, so we have not compatible with your version of core details. You guys can't see me pointing the screen. 1 second. Down here. So if we had this for when it's not compatible, this replaces the download link. But what we could do is have an info version of this box that's just with let's just like compatible with expands to this information, if to address Ted's concern, that would just be under the download link. Should we make
Sure,
a
we can do that, and then the two are consistent. So that probably is a good way to handle that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my case was a rare case, but I think the really common case will be 9.0. Like, if do people people downloading new versions of a contrib module that aren't compatible with 9.0 when they're about to upgrade to 9.0, and now they can't upgrade to 9 because they chose to upgrade.
Well, but nobody is going to be upgrading to 9.0 in place on their production environment, or nobody asterisk should. Like 9.0 is kind of a special case anyway, because it's a major version upgrade. So you're going to need to do some tweaking anyway, like likely.
But people are going to be upgrading in place.
Eventually they will be upgrading in place, I agree, but they'll be first dealing with this on a dev site or something to get everything into place.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine.
What I was going to say is that I'm thinking I want to add like a beta should have, or maybe something that we do during beta, which is to once we have actual 9 releases and it's not so difficult to mock up the scenarios that test this, just review the user experience of the major version upgrade from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9 with contrib modules. And like we'll have an issue that's postponed, let's do a UX review of that after the beta. And because we can still change strings during beta, we can iterate and improve the UI, because we have a whole 2 months in which we can focus on both on this specific page and throw out the entire project, what the user experience is of upgrading for that major update. So that's what I think we should file an additional issue for that, to take all these small changes in the big picture of that update. Does that seem reasonable to folks to have a critical issue for that? That's a follow-up task.
I think so. I was trying to think, and I think this might be what Ted was saying, but essentially, is it possible to get into a situation where you're running a version of a contrib module which is not compatible with the next version of core? So would Drupal prevent you from upgrading core if it knew a version of your contrib, your contrib module you had installed was not compatible with the next version, but there was no future version of that module to update to?
What will happen is you'll get, when you go to update.php, you'll get a warning about that then, or a error about that then, I think.
Okay.
That tells you, because requirements are not met for blah, blah, blah. Once we fix this uninstalling module thing. There's a third issue around this that's also going to need UX review, but it's in a less baked state, so we'll probably want to bring it back in a couple of weeks. But yeah, there's a separate page where if they do put themselves in the situation where they put stuff in the code base that's not compatible, when they go to update.php is like, dude, bro, we can't do this update. So that
okay,
that should stop them from hosing their site at that point.
But obviously the status report page wouldn't know until they've done that update, or we wouldn't warn them about the fact.
I don't think that we should. I don't think we should try to take over, at least before Drupal 9's release. I don't think we should try to take over the intellectual burden of deciding what versions to install. We just want to give them information to make the decision. In the long term, it would probably be great to be like, hey, you're using Drupal 9.2. You want this version of Path Auto, and present that to the user way. But I think that there's actually a ton of work and complexity underneath that.
And it could be that there should be some tool outside of Drupal that should do that.
Yeah.
Is there any other issues?
Do you folks have what you need to be unblocked here?
I think that we have a direction that we can implement as a prototype and bring it to another review at another meeting for that second critical. I'll put my notes in the Slack chat here. And then on the first one, what Ted and I will do is we'll make those small tweaks to the text formatting, file those 2 follow-up issues, which will both be critical. And then between those 2 things, that will allow us to start moving on, oops, wrong channel, on unblocking both these issues. And so we've identified, so the follow-ups, the things we're gonna do in follow-ups are proper date handling for the dates on the update status report, usability review for more words, that might end up being only an 8.9 and 9.0, and so 8.8 might just have the old things because we don't want to break strings. And then for the second issue, the follow-up we'll have down the road is just a usability review of the entire major version update process for 8, whichever to 9.0 as it's presented to the user. But that's something that makes sense to do during the beta phase of Drupal because that's what betas are for.
Okay. I actually just on when we were looking at the last issue, just remembering about date formats, and we did see an example of another place in the update status page which formats the date. I don't know again if this is just for the follow-up, but it might be worth if we're already formatting dates in some way in the update status page, looking at how do we do that already in terms of a precedent. And then
Can you put that in the UX Slack?
What I just did is I added a note about check other ones on the update status page. If you do find the specific thing, you can thread it under my comment, and that way we can find it too to compare. Does that work?
Okay, yeah, it's like when you when we're looking at the list of contributing modules and core versions on the available updates page, not on the status update page.
Oh, okay.
It's on the available update page. It has dates on there.
Ah, yes. Okay, yeah. Actually, I'll see how they do that because we should just use that because that is already in use and we shouldn't have a new one. So, and then I kind of think we should just change to this right now because we already have a use case. This is not the new code. This is old code.
Ooh, wait. So Jan instead of number.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's what we're using now. So and just do a follow up if we needed.
Let's do a follow up to use that. So this is actually 2 different pages. This is the update status report versus the status report. But it is good that we already have a scenario. So that's a great idea. Let's in the follow up issue just change this for now because I really want to get the main one in because it's the patch is way bigger than you think it is, and then we'll just have a follow up to adopt this for now, see if we need to improve it further, and then go forward with that.
Okay, great.
Yay! Thank you all so much for. So I think that Ted and I are going to drop off now because we have our Scrum meeting with our the other members of our team. We're here at a sprint at Drupal Camp, New Jersey. Thanks, Angie. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Gabor. We'll have maybe in like 2 weeks, we might come back to you for some more review if that's all right.
Yep, that's why we're here.
Thanks. Enjoy Drupal Camp. I wish I could be there actually.
It's a cool camp.
It's a good camp.
Yeah.
All right.
You should come to Scotland. Drupal Camp Scotland. Yeah.
I would love to go to Scotland. I'm not sure that Aqua would pay for me to go to Scotland.
Alrighty. Talk to y'all later.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks.
All right. Was there other things that we wanted to talk about? I saw Aaron mention.
I did. It was just really around I'm not feeling up to presenting myself. My neck kind of hurts. I'd like to go lie down. So I'm happy to just wait till next week on that
Why
one.
don't we wait until next week? Because that was a lot.
Yeah.
So why don't we wait until next week? And maybe we'll get a few more folks for that meeting and we can go over it then. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah. I hope you feel better, man.
Feel better.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Okay, then I think we can end the meeting. That's also nice because then the recording is succinct and it's just about these issues. So if people who couldn't make it want to catch up, they can get the full details. So,
Yay.
okay, awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.